Hey everyone, it's Andrew. I'm going to tell you about a terrible life insurance policy today. So I had a client come in and he goes, "Hey, can you take a look at this for me?" And we look at it and he goes, "I got this life insurance policy. I think it's great. And by the way, almost nobody that I've seen actually knows how permanent life insurance works, even the people who sell them. Just putting that out there." So this guy comes in and he says, "Hey, I got this life insurance policy. Um, can you help me take a look at it?" It was purchased 30 years ago, $100,000. And he goes, "And it's permanent, so I know it'll be there in case I die. Do I need it? I got this weird letter." Well, I look at the letter. What does it say? Your policy is going to lapse in 10 years. And he goes, "Well, no, that's not right, because when we bought it, it was one lump sum premium, and they said it's paid up." And I go, "You don't have a paid up life insurance policy." "What is it then?" "It's a indexed universal life policy." I really don't like painting with a broad brush here because finance is so individualized, but I would encourage people. Indexed universal life, I'm going to say 9 times out of 10 is just snake oil in my opinion. People can disagree with me, but especially the old policies. So, back to the client. $100,000, it's set to lapse in 10 years, or he can put in 15,000 more to get it guaranteed out to his age of 90 for another 20 years. It only has $15,000 of cash value right now. I told him to cash it out. He doesn't actually need the life insurance. His situation, it's not important. Indexed universal life. What is it? It is a life insurance policy that is designed to last for a very long period of time. And you can even get guarantees out to certain ages like 90, 95, 100. And it's indexed to a market. And so a lot of times they'll be indexed to like the S&P 500. And they'll say there's a cap and a floor. Sound familiar? It's getting complicated. Many times the cap is 60, 70, 80%. And the floor most times is 0. And they'll have an interest bearing amount as well. The problem with this, there are 2 big problems that you need to watch out for. Number 1, a lot of times the caps are based monthly, not annually. Okay? Well, most of the stock market returns come within 3% of the days. Most of the stock market returns in a year come within 3% of the trading days. The actuaries who design these life insurance policies know that, believe it or not. It's an ignorance tax on people. So, what happens is you get monthly caps because they know the one month that does really well, you're going to get capped out, and all the other months, it's not going to perform super well. So, if the stock market does 10, you may expect to do 7. Number 2, and this is actually, I think, the biggest issue with it, these are designed based off price appreciation, not total return. What does that mean? Historically, the S&P 500 has done somewhere around 10% if you take into account dividends and you average it over many, many years. About 35% of that return has been dividends. Think about that. 35% of the return has been dividends. Yet the indexed universal life policies are based on price return. Because price return has been so good the last 15 years since the financial crisis. So they understand the last regime has looked very good for price appreciation. The next regime may not. They take away 35% of your return, and then they cap you on a month-to-month basis. At least that's how this policy was. And then they show you an illustration that says you're going to have however much money at the end. Buyer beware. I'm just not a fan of those. I'm not a fan of those. There can be some situations where permanent insurance works for sure as you get up the net worth ladder. especially if you have estate tax issues, kids in the business, kids out of the business, farmland, those types of things. But personally, I would never fund it with indexed universal life. Never. And that client who came in, he thought he was going to have a life insurance policy out to age 100, and it's going away. So he's taking his cash and running. So I hope this is illustrative that there are complex products out there. You hear me preaching time and time again, simplicity wins. Well, guess what? There's another example of complexity losing. So curious your all's comments. If you have an idea or something that you've run into in the past, help me learn something. Comment below. But besides that, that's the story for the day, and appreciate you all watching the video. Until next time, thanks.